So I'm going to record this, and I know more people are going to be coming on. Well, thank you so much,
You,
Gordon, for taking a few
yeah,
minutes.
you can wait if you want a couple minutes. I'm good with that too. Whatever's good for you.
It's okay. I'm recording it, so we'll
Okay,
get going.
cool.
Everybody's had reminders. So I know a lot of people that are going to be on this call. They know you, and they love and respect you as much as I do. But for the people that are not on, that have not gotten to know you through the Juice Plus community, um, I'll let you share in your own words what you're up to these days, but you are a global business strategist. You've worked in the direct selling marketing industry for over 30 years. You're doing a lot more now. You're not really as aligned, or you're not aligned with the Juice Plus company anymore. But you're really doing a lot more to pour into the industry. And I know you got a book coming out soon, which I can't wait to personally get. So why don't we start by, you can give everyone a little bit of your background. And I mean, whenever you speak, Gordon, we all just take these notes, even though I've heard you talk a lot over the years. I just have so much respect for your perspective in this industry. And I'm so excited that everyone is getting to hear you at this time, because we're all jazzed up for the new year.
Well, thank you for the introduction. And listen, I'm on here. I value our friendship. We've been locked arms over the years many, many times. And it is a new year and a new decade. So It's kind of an exciting time for me. And just for those I haven't had the pleasure to meet, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Not to impress you, but to impress upon you. Like, I'm a grizzled veteran these days in business, in the industry. I feel like I'm older than most people have been alive. My kids have been alive. They all call me Mr. Hester these days. But I started when I came out of school. I was an accountant, worked for Touche Ross for 5 years in their tax department. Found my way through to network marketing when I met a gentleman by the name of Jeff Roberti, who happened to be really good friends with my roommate down in Sarasota, Florida, when I was living down there. Got really interested in the industry, in particular being a distributor, and started there, got to the top level of the marketing plan in 5 months. I had a lot of success with that. Kind of a couple years after, so I sold my distributorship. A couple years after that, I got approached by Jeff about coming to work with him, and that's what I did for 25 years. I worked with Jeff in all kinds of capacities, whether it was coaching and training his leadership, working with the company on strategic initiatives, or even execution. Kind of what was at the forefront, like the Juice Plus business plan started on my desk. The mission-driven model is something that I built for the culture. So a lot of history with Juice Plus, and I'm a big fan of theirs. Even though I'm not really involved with them anymore, they're one of the leaders in the industry, and I doubt anything's going to change that. They're a good company with good people. But on the field side, I'm 30 plus years. On the industry side, I'm about a little over 35 years. So I've been around a long time. The field side gave me something really important, which is an understanding of this business, because ultimately all of you are Juice Plus's greatest asset. Without you, their business is not what it is today. And they understand that, and they've always operated with that mindset, which is why I've been so aligned with them over the years. When I left Jeff, I retired in April of 2016. No intention to work again. 4 days later, I was back to work, and got approached about being involved with Juice Plus on the modernization of the company, and really locked in with that. Still involved on the corporate side. I do a fair amount of consulting with other network marketing companies and companies outside the industry too, so I have both worlds. But in particular, I have my own technology company, and we're very involved with network marketing companies, doing everything from building complex e-commerce sites to redesigning back offices, to doing enterprise systems, connecting APIs. Like, for instance, we just figured out how to connect Shopify to various enterprise systems. So the tech part is really important, because today tech and data are so important for companies to be relevant in the marketplace. So on the corporate side, I share that with you because not only do I understand the field side, but I live on the corporate side now. And it really helps me understand that side of the business and what's being done. But My big shift that I made was about a year and a half ago. I saw the industry changing, and I felt it was at an inflection point. And I got decided to get positioned in the industry to help the industry evolve. And so I got very involved with the Direct Selling Association. I've been on their research committee actually now for 3 years. I'm on their engagement committee, but the fun part is they created a position for me with the Direct Selling Education Foundation for their academic initiatives. So we have 224 academic professors who are fans. They support direct selling as researchers, as consultants. More important, putting us in their classroom. So, I've taught at Wake Forest, University of Texas, Florida State, Slippery Rock. I try to remember all of them. We've now taught almost 100,000 students about direct selling and network marketing. And the reason I went on the industry side, because I really wanted to change the industry. And when you mention my book, that's what my book is about. I've spent 2.5 years talking about why this industry is positioned well, because I do believe at the end of the day, in my, call it 35 years here, I've never been more excited about what the potential of the industry is. And part of that is because I see things that have to be fixed. And where some people see problems, I see opportunities. So the book was really about why it's positioned right, why we've done over 3 trillion in sales, how we've been in a 27-year uptrend. Really supports this concept of the business is really a large global distribution channel with about 120 million entrepreneurs in, oh my gosh, now over 170 countries. And so I'm very involved there. And then outside of it, I do a lot of lecturing, a lot of training, keynote speaking. I've been on the advisory committee with Wake Forest, and their program, their entrepreneur program, for 5 years. And I recently joined the Forbes Coaches Council. They invited me to come in there. So as you can see, I've kind of been around a long time and got a lot to share. But tonight I really want to just talk about the industry. You're going into a new year and a new decade. And I'm sure everybody on here is excited about having a hugely successful year. So I want to share with you what I think are some of the keys to that, given that the marketplace is in such a drastic state of change. So let me start there. When I say change, I think a lot of people think, oh my gosh, things are bad. The reality is things aren't bad. What changed is the marketplace. If you understand the marketplace that we are in is 2 things. It's this distribution channel. So we have literally hundreds of millions of customers all over the world that use this channel to buy products and services. What's changed? Everything. 10 years ago, there was no Amazon. 10 years ago, there was no two-day shipping. All the technologies, everything that's being data-driven, all the journey mapping, all this stuff has changed not only how consumers shop, it actually has changed their behavior. Yeah. So to be relevant as a distribution channel, which, just make no mistake, might be the most important thing you could write down. Without a distribution channel, there is no such thing as direct selling or network marketing. Customers are the foundation of any solid business, and we are no exception to that rule. So we have to become more competitive because there's so much competition for consumers, for global consumers, that this is a battle we can't afford to lose. Yeah. And on the other side of it, the other piece of it is the opportunity piece. All these 120 million entrepreneurs that chose this as a way to build their own business, whatever that is for them. That part has really evolved the last, I would say, 5 years. And it's been a big part of the challenge this industry's had, because there's this new thing in the marketplace called the gig economy, which is basically very similar opportunities to ours. They're for micro entrepreneurs. They're very systems and process driven, and they come into the marketplace very data driven, very technology driven. I think it's kind of funny. Most people don't know this, but if I say gig economy, they're like Uber. The guys that started Uber actually were Cutco distributors in network marketing. And
oh my God, you're kidding. I never knew that.
Yeah, they were the original ones that came out of that world. And that's not an uncommon story, by the way. But what the gig economy has done is built this amazing place for small entrepreneurs, very successful. We were the originators in that. This idea of crowdsourcing entrepreneurial talent is something that direct selling and network marketing created. They came into this brought some things that we didn't have. But you know what the good news is? Right now we're getting those things, and we have advantages. We have culture. We have a different kind of compensation model. So there's some really amazing things that are happening there. So I share that because the marketplace changed. Regulatory wise, there's some things going on. I don't think they really are pertinent in the big scheme of things. If we get the marketplace right, everything else kind of takes care of itself. So I look at that and I see huge amounts of opportunities. Now, if I go back to the top of the house, so what makes network marketing work? What determines the level of success that you have? And first and foremost, understand that success is tied to critical mass. So the more relationships that you build with customers and distributors and team, the more successful you're going to be in this business. So if I were to take Jeff Roberti as an example, why does Jeff do so well? Because he has more critical mass than anyone else. He has massive amounts of customers and a huge distributor base globally. Actually, about 60% of his business is still international. So your success requires the same thing. And if you think about that, there's two pieces of building critical mass. There's getting people and keeping them. And this industry has always been really, really strong on getting people. We recruit a lot of people. We get a lot of customers. I think the opportunity lies in what happens after that. Because if you think about critical mass and relationships, how do you possibly have a relationship if you bring somebody in and nothing happens? It just falls on its face. And they have terms for this, like in recruiting, it's called empty recruiting, the idea of recruiting people and nothing happens. We have a lot of customer acquisition, but what you want to pay attention to is how long the customer stays, what's their customer lifetime value, and you really want to invest into the relationship game. And this is what I call engagement. So I want you to understand that engagement is a behavioral formula. And if I share it with you, you'll kind of understand it. The formula is engagement equals the triumph of hope over experience. So simple thing, two variables, hope and experience. What it says is if we're having good experiences doing anything, don't even think about network marketing, think about a relationship, think about a marriage, something of that nature. When you're having really good experiences, you continue to be engaged. And a good experience is something that's positive, meaningful, which is really the emotional connection component of it, creates hope, confirms hope, and then magnifies hope. And ultimately, what is important to understand is, in my opinion, our industry is as good at marketing hope as any industry I've ever seen. The problem is that hope is a beggar. It needs experiences to confirm it. That's what relationships are. It's not about the expectations we have. It's not about just people's whys and their dreams. It's what we do to make all that come true. And that's the engagement game. So what I've always understood about business, and I think a big part of why I've been really successful, because I think all business is about the customer experience and the customer journey. And it's one thing to master it. It's another for it to be your identity. To be, if anybody were to look at your business and look at you and say, nobody does the customer experience and customer journey better than I do, here's what I can tell you. You can be successful at anything if that's the identity you build in the marketplace. So as we look at building critical mass, let me see if I can give you kind of some high-level strategies that I think are worth focusing on. The first is, I know the first step in building a relationship is acquiring somebody. So customer acquisition and customer retention. And so on that side of things, what you need to understand is selection matters. Especially today with the social influencers and things that are going on in that component. I'll talk about that in a minute. So ultimately, if you select the right people and you're good at that part of the relationship selection game, then the business is much easier and you move much quicker. It's easier to build critical mass. There's one particular leader I work with in Juice Plus that sort of was running $3,000 to $4,000 a month in income for about 6 years, was coaching her, kind of got her to understand. I asked her this question: what does your business look like every day? And she started going through the DMO. I said, well, let me ask it another question. How much of your day is spent trying to get people to work, to motivate people, and to develop them? And she said, pretty much my whole day. I said, there's your problem. you need self-motivated self-learners that are willing to work and prove it in the marketplace. So she made this change, and I got involved a little bit on the execution and got some of her initial team in. I'm pretty sure now she's $1 million earner. Took about 3 years to get there. Now, I'm not promising that. I don't want to set that up as an expectation. I want you to understand that who you bring in matters. And so in the marketing world, we call this ideal client profile. So you need to figure out who your ideal client profile is, because if you get the right person, then what happens afterwards is easier. The second part to me would be, make no mistake, engagement has to be the priority. You have to get into the relationship game. You not only have to set up good expectations with people, you ultimately have to go one step farther, which is to make those come true. And this is part of where, if network marketing has a bit of a bad name in the marketplace, if there's a perception problem, the reason is really simple. There's been a long history of overpromise and underdeliver around people's hopes and dreams, and that shouldn't be the business we're in. We should be the ones that make all those things come true. So if you prioritize engagement and you get the right people, this is actually a pretty easy business to build. Most people just don't do that. Most people will just literally recruit anybody that will write a check and sign an application, and then they wonder why their business is slow. Not really a good thing. Now, one more thing I want to tell you about your particular business. If you're going to systemize, if you're working on duplication, what I would tell you is a good path is to continue to build SCs and to go wide. So I did a study for Juice Plus, oh my gosh, probably been 2 years ago. And I looked at, in your marketing plan, where does somebody make enough money? Now, I'm not saying money is the ultimate thing. Just one example I'm giving. Actually, it's not even in the top 5, believe it or not. So I went in and I said, where is the level? And it turned out that what they call the golden handcuffs, enough money to keep anybody engaged, is at the SC level. And when I looked at it, I was kind of curious, well, how many people are way below the average and how many people are way above the average? And it turned out, if I took those two extremes, there were as many people on one side as there were on the other. So I wanted to find out why. This was the interesting thing, Lisa. The only reason was because the SCs with higher income had a small team that kept a customer base,
Right.
period.
Right.
So if you think about that in the context, it isn't about building SCs, it isn't about, or building SSCs and QNMDs and NMDs. We are in what I call a relationship stacking game. And what that is the foundation of that is customers. If you can keep customers, then you have a business. What sits above that are the micro entrepreneurs, the part-timers, and they are the lifeblood of this business. I don't care what company you look at. They are over 90% of the sales, 90% of the recruits, and 90% of the customer acquisition occurs through them. So if you can't get them to do the business right, what happens is you churn customers, you churn these people, and you can't develop leadership. Yeah. So if you do nothing but get those micro entrepreneurs to stay in by building a strong customer base, you will in time develop into a leader. And if you help other people do that, then you develop into a senior leader. That's how you get to NMD. I mean, unless they've changed the market, you might have looked at it. You got to be 5 wide. And those 5 wide are what? Solid SCs. Yeah. That's the business you have to be in. But to get there, you have to build solid VS, not just SCs. Because when I looked at the SCs that were going backwards, the issue was that they just got there on customer acquisition volume and recruiting, but nothing stuck. So they were constantly rebuilding. Right. And if you've ever had to do that in business, it can be really exhausting after a while. Yeah. So the second piece for me would be, today, as I look at the industry, the people moving are what I call social influencers. Today, influence is a form of capital. And we sort of teach social media as the place to do business. The reality is we're not teaching it right. It isn't about social media. If it was about social media, everybody on social media would be successful. Right. It's about personal branding. Right. It is about knowing how to, one, create a brand. How do I ideate a brand? What am I putting out to the marketplace? Why would people want a relationship with me? How am I different than anybody else? This is sort of all things ideation. And what I will tell you to me, the mistake people make is they talk so much about their story. What's your product story? What's your opportunity story? And that's okay because they're important. They develop credibility. But make no mistake, the story that matters is the story of how you make other people successful, how you impact the world. A good brand is always built around impact. So you have to look at it from that context. I see people all the time on social media sort of living a reality show of their life.
Yeah.
And if you pay attention to the engagement, after a while, people are like, well, I'm sort of tired of hearing about what your dog's doing today and what you ate. And, you got to think bigger. You got to think about how am I impacting people? How can I show the results of my investment into other people? That's good ideation. That's good branding. But once you develop your brand and you test it, because of course, the results sort of tell you the value of how well you did that. We call that customer discovery and validation. The second piece is you have to create visibility. And this is where social media really comes into play, because with social selling and social media, it's such a massive communication platform globally and growing all the time, that this is the place where you're just going to get more exposure. And if you think about it, there's a couple ways to go doing this. If you're going to create visibility, one is you can do it by just sort of putting yourself out there and trying to create an audience. You put your brand out in social media, you do videos, whatever, people connect with you, you try to go that way. Not a bad strategy, pretty much what everybody is in the industry. The other way is to go to where an audience is that you want and become an influencer in that audience. So an example I would give you, there's an online community called Circle of Moms. And there's about, I think last time I looked at it, over 20 million active moms on there. And I remember the first time I went on there and I was like, man, I'm going to see all these Juice Plus people. I never saw one Juice Plus person on there. But when I looked at the first question that a mom asked, it was, how do I get my kids to eat more fruits and vegetables? So, I mean, you think about all these tens of millions of people sitting where connecting with other moms, trying to figure out how to be a good mom. And those communities exist everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where the real opportunity is, because you don't go in there and sell. You go in there and add value. And as you add value, you become an influencer, and that's when the magic happens. Yeah. The other thing you can do as an influencer to create visibility is to do what they call shout outs. This concept of reaching out to other influencers, sharing messages. You might do blogs back and forth, might do videos back and forth. I worked with one girl who did this really well. She built an audience in 7 brands on Instagram, over 10 million people, eventually got it up to 16 million people. And when I asked her, how did you do it? It was all through shout outs. She would share audiences with people, and she would put on a little over 100,000 new followers every week. So this is, so think about it this way. Social media and branding just gives you more people to talk to. Yeah. So if I come into the business with 10 people on a warm market on a memory jogger, which is fine. I mean, everybody has their own relationships. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I come in with 10 and Lisa comes in with 10 million, who do you think is going to do better? Exactly. So today, yeah, exactly. It's pretty simple. So today, it is not about big influencers. It's about micro influencers. It's about finding these people that have somewhere between 500 and 2,000 people that are looking for a home for their audience. So once you create that visibility, what you get is an audience, which we call influence. And today, influence is a form of capital. So the bigger your audience, the more potential you have to make money off that audience and to make an impact with that audience. So how do you do that? You monetize the traffic. For you guys, what's monetization? Marketing the Juice Plus products and marketing the opportunity. Yeah. And this is how you build your tribe, as we say. This is how you build your team. This is how you build all your followers. And remember, that audience doesn't turn a lot of times on the first time you meet them. It's important that you stay engaged, that you follow up, that you continue to drip on people, because the large majority of your audience won't engage in being monetized into something initially. So the more you understand how to engage them and keep them involved in the world, the easier it is to monetize that traffic and turn it into your tribe. Yeah. Now, there is one more important part, and this is probably where I spend most of my time on the branding stuff these days. How do I scale a brand? Like, how do I really get something massive. So like I talked to a girl this morning that had called me to help her build her brand, and she's a $1 million earner in the industry, very successful. But what she didn't have that is important to scale is a movement, a mission. Because if you think about what is the beauty, what is the strength of network marketing, it's culture. People want to belong to something. Just like the company has a community of inspiring healthy living, individuals have their own movements, and they kind of, in network marketing, it's a brand within a brand. So your brand exists within there. So if you kind of pay attention to what leaders do, they sort of have all their team movements and whatever that might look like and wherever it might occur. So what I always tell people is if you're going to work on a personal brand and you really want to be successful, start at the end. What is your movement? What is your mission that you're going to be a voice for? And then you work backwards from there. And if you get that right and you create visibility and you know how to monetize that traffic, there is no limitation to what you can do in this industry. So I think you have to master the personal branding thing. And then the one thing I'll probably do on the educational side this year with distributors is teach the whole architecture around how you do that effectively. The third thing is, as I said, culture is the differentiator. There are 3 what I call cancers of culture. So if you want to know how to destroy culture and how to not build relationships, I'm going to tell you what the 3 are: entitlement, division, and drama. If this is what's going on in your team, you have to really pivot how your team's being built, how communication is working, because ultimately nobody, if you think, go back to the engagement thing, experiences, who wants to be in an experience where all they have is drama and no production? At some point, it just kind of takes its course. And if you have this going on, you have to start to look at strategies to change that. And so then ultimately, I think the success of it comes down to really 4 things. It's the success of everything. I call it the EEFF principle. So first is effort. So effort is about the commitment you have. It's the discipline. And discipline is a function of what's important to the individual. So what I can tell you is, if taking the Juice Plus products matters, you'll take them. If marketing the Juice Plus products matter, you'll take them. If you believe in the opportunity over anything else to get lifestyle, comfort, freedom, or impact, or all the above, then then the effort will be there. Effort is always tied to reasons and to discipline and to what's important to the individual. And I can promise you, if you're not doing it, it is because it is not important to you. There is something else that is a bigger priority. Some people read, other people watch TV. Which one serves you better? I guess it depends what your outcomes are and what you want. So effort matters. The next is execution. So no matter how much you plan, it doesn't matter what your dreams are, what's in your head. I don't really care how many goals you set. It doesn't matter how many vision boards you do, what affirmations you're saying to yourself every day. Business is about execution. If you don't execute, you're not going to be successful in business. Yeah. So mastering execution matters. That's the world I live in. The third is focus. And this is an interesting one, because in my lifetime, I've never seen so much competing for my focus. I don't know how many different communication channels I have. It feels like there's 1,000 of them. I'm trying to manage that. I'm trying to manage all the complexities and chaos at life, and all the time trying to stay focused to stay in what I call my zone. My zone is what my plan is, what I need to do to live the life that I want to be. So focus is really important. And the last is faith. So faith is about persistence. It's about staying the course. It's about not letting obstacles defeat you. I once heard a lady speak. I never forgot what she said. She goes, "No dream is possible unless it is greater than your biggest obstacle." And I think that is so true. So you need that faith. And there's a huge difference between faith and hope. Hope can be defeated by an experience. Faith cannot. So when you have faith, what you have is your identity tied to something. So if you have your identity tied to the Juice Plus mission, there's nothing that can stop you. It's just now really learning and skills and getting better. And of course, development is a big piece. You got to get better at all aspects of personal skills, time management, relationship management, communication, sales skills, all these kinds of things really make a difference. But you also have to remember, it's not just personal development skills. You need to get better at business. You need to get smart about how you manage your finances.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a blueprint for what development should look like. So here's the thing. If I were to tell you, take each of those things, effort, execution, focus, and faith, and I want you to put a percentage from 0 to 100 underneath each one. So if you said, oh, effort, I'm about an 80%. And execution, probably 50% there. Focus, 100%. Just whatever those are for you. Now what I'll tell you to do is multiply them. And when you multiply them, you'll begin to see what I call the probability of success. And what you'll begin to understand is how one of these being low has a major impact on your ability to succeed at anything. So I will tell you, because I'm happy to answer any questions, Lisa, that you or anybody else might have. But as you go into the new year, as I said at the beginning of the call, in my opinion, 35 years in this industry, I think it's the best time. Most people would be like, well, no, with what's going on, it's not the best time. The marketplace has changed. The regulatory environment's changed. My gosh, there's all these there's all these ways of shopping, places to buy products, all these excuses. Listen, problems are opportunities. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. The fact that our industry is in an inflection point is when you want to get involved, because as it gains momentum, this is where you jump on a momentum wave that drives you upward. Yeah. Timing is important, and to be at the right place at the right time really makes a difference. And then if you look at Juice Plus as an example, I mean, they've been around for a lot of years, I think since 1970, if I remember, but I still think they're very early in the marketplace. When I talk to people about Juice Plus, I'm always shocked how few people actually know what it is.
I know. Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem is, who doesn't believe that? The person that talks to one or two people that says, oh, I've heard of that, not realizing there's 2,000 that haven't. So go find those people, which, by the way, you know how you find them? Become more visible so they find you. So as the marketplace changes, we're going to have to evolve faster. I tell myself this every day, time's working against you. The longer you wait to be relevant and lead, the harder it is, the more it's going to take a bold shift to move life in a different direction. So when's the time to do that? Now, and hit the ground running. Of course, we know that the past does not equal the future. If anybody thinks what worked in the past will work in the future, I think you're just kidding themselves. So I'll give you a perfect example. When Jeff built his business, he built it with classified ads. Yeah. Can you imagine trying to do that now?
I know.
Yeah, but the fundamentals are the same. Getting customers is a timeless fundamental. Keeping customers, getting distributors, keeping distributors, building influence, developing yourself. These are fundamental principles, which changes how they're practiced in the marketplace. So as you get better at them, there's no limitation of what potentially you can do. But if you don't get better at them when the rest of the world is, then you get farther and farther behind the 8 ball. And then I'll just kind of leave you with this. And at least if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Ultimately, at the beginning of the year, I know everybody's got their New Year's resolutions and all that kind of stuff, and that's all great. But ultimately, you got 3 choices in life on everything, including what you're going to do with this business. The first is acceptance. You can look at your business and say, you know what? Not that bad. I'm pretty happy with it, and I think I'm just going to keep the course. Here's what I can tell you. There's another word I have for acceptance. It's called the comfort zone. And to me, the comfort zone is a slow death. Be very careful about getting comfortable at anything in life. I'm 57 years old. I work harder now than I ever have. I'm learning more than I ever have. Why? Because I will not accept, even in a position where I never have to work again, that I'm not going to stay relevant. I'm not going to go out and change more lives by being on top of the game. The second is you focus on what you don't control. This is the masses. When I talk to them, oh, so-and-so did this to me. Oh my God, the economy's horrible. Oh my gosh, I can't pay my bills. And oh, the taxes are so high. Oh, the health insurance. Okay, those are called realities. Yeah. But here's the problem. When you focus on what you don't control, all you end up with is a path to suffering. And the goal isn't to suffer, it's to grow. It's to move forward. So that brings me to my last choice. Focus on what you can control. you can control your time. You can control the development of your skill sets. You can control the business opportunity that you decide to work, the products and services you try to market to consumers. You can control how you impact people. You can control so many aspects of your life. And I will tell you, on your plan for 2020, if you get clear on what you focus and the prioritization of those, and the prioritization of those is right, boy, it's going to be a great year, one better than any year you've ever had. So, Lisa, I hope that gives your team a little perspective about going into 2020. As you can probably tell, I'm like fired up about it. I'm like so ready to go.
This was amazing, Gordon. I mean, I've heard you speak for so many years, and I've taken so many notes on your teachings. This was incredible. I'm so excited about what you have to say, and I agree with everything. And I really love that you talked about the branding, because I do think that we still need to continue as Juice Plus reps, understanding that, yes, we have this incredible solution, but people want to get to know us. They want to know what we're all about. So then they trust us to have an experience with Juice Plus. We have to put ourselves out there. So I love.
Yeah. And Lisa, let me just mention one thing on that I didn't mention. Relationships are about connection. Trust, care, and help. Just remember those words: trust, care, help. Trust, care, help. If somebody knows they can trust you, that you care about them, and that you can help them, it is very easy to make business work. The problem is when you do things wrong and you don't have that, it's a problem. The other thing that I would mention on the social media and branding piece, all social media is just a communication platform. If you don't communicate effectively, you're not going to do well in any type of a communication platform. Yeah. What is effective communication? It's when what you want, your intentions, are seen by your audience. So when the perceptions of your audience match the intentions of the person delivering, that is perfect communication. So if you can put something in social media and you're getting people to do and think what you want, this is good communication. And you have to look at all communication in that perspective. That's what we call engagement. Those are the things that we study. So, if you put a post out, you got 1,000 people in a user group and 2 people like it, you might think it's the greatest post in the world, but I can tell your audience doesn't. Yeah. So pay attention. What you have to inspect what you expect. And that's important on the social media branding part.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I'm so appreciative of this tonight, Gordon. Thank you so much. Do you guys have any questions? Do you have anything that you want to clarify? You're all just taking notes.
I took like 4 pages of notes.
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing.
It's a great thing. Thank you, Gordon.
Oh, my pleasure.
No, this was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm excited to read your book and keep up with you as you're really impacting this industry and helping all of us. And what's good for one company is good for the whole industry. So I'm really excited that you're at this level now, because there's still people that don't really understand the value of network marketing and the impact that we make on people's lives. And I love this industry. I want to support all companies, because I think what we're doing is so important. It is the future. More people are looking for opportunities like this. And so I'm thrilled that the work that you're doing in the industry as a whole.
Thank you. It's interesting. We just did a big study with Ipsos at the Direct Selling Association. And the one thing they said that really stuck out with me is people today are looking to be connected to people. Yeah. And that is the foundation of what our industry is. So I think, if anything, social media and sort of the disconnect of how e-commerce work is going to play to our favor, because people want relationships. Yeah. That's the value add that we bring to the experience. Yeah. And it's so important.
And that's why I think we've done a really good job as a company all these years, as a culture, to really make it about that. And we'll continue to grow. So, well, thank you, Gordon. Happy New Year. Safe travels as you're driving to Texas. And I really, really appreciate this. This was amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And Happy New Year to everyone. And I hope it's your best year ever.
Absolutely.
Thank
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gordon.
Good night.